learn how to pitch your idea clearly and concisely. And once you learn how to do that, then you can bring in all the stakeholders and you can get into programs that'll help you and train you on how to build it. But that first step is you have to design a business model that is desirable.
When I initially moved back to Pensacola, I had a meeting with Lloyd. Lloyd invited me for breakfast and I was telling him, man, I still have an idea for the entertainment industry. This is what I wanted to do. He was like, all right, I got Startup on the Blocks. So I need you to start coming to Startup on the Blocks and get a little more information on how to work through the tech ecosystem and take your idea and we'll get you where you need to go. My company is called The Know, is an app that is streamlining business for the entertainment industry. Yeah, so if you're a musician, what you would do is pretty much jump on the platform, you'll create a profile, but the way we created the profile is pretty much a cleaner way. So now if they want more information about you, you'll connect your social media platforms, your streaming platforms, and that way they can go directly to it. What we also have included is your calendar. So pretty much you can set your days, you can set your price for your days and automate your booking. So initially talking to Lloyd, my idea was all here, it was there, it was over here, it was over there. It was like, all right, Quinn, I get it. You got a lot that you want to do, but we need you to bring it in just a little bit and then work on your pitch, your story, and how you're going to bring it full circle to get people to understand what you're trying to create.
Most of the programs here wasn't inclusive, and so we said we'll focus on helping founders of color. We also start at the beginning of the thing, at the idea stage, whereas a lot of the programs you see here locally, they start after you're up, and that's not very efficient unless if you don't have a lot of money, you can't recover from your mistakes. And the lean startup system, it actually helps you make mistakes faster before you spend a lot of money. You don't actually start building anything until you got customer buy-in.
There was a need for small businesses to bring brand awareness to their business. I see there's a lot of makers and bakers that they're making all of these goodies and these products, but they can't market it, they can't sell it at the same time, and there needs to be kind of that middleman, that middle person to help bring economic growth to some of the small businesses in Pensacola. So Taste of Pensacola, I came up with that idea during the pandemic when I saw things at that time that Amazon couldn't fulfill. They didn't even have those products, but the local people in the community, they did. And so there was a ton of people coming out saying, hey, I make masks. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. All the local people here that are just as talented that can actually make those products. And so I wanted to kind of showcase who they were. So with Taste of Pensacola, our income streams, we have several of them. We have the corporate America, we do corporate gifting, just regular consumers, different Pensacola natives that don't live here that want to purchase our boxes, like a taste of weddings, distribution. So we also do bulk sales. So for a private airline, if they want some local snacks and goodies on their passenger flights, they will come to Taste of Pensacola and we will source their vendors here locally. And we'll give a small business owner an opportunity to have reoccurring monthly sales. I've always had a really big vision for Taste of Pensacola. I knew that it could go beyond just local. I know that maybe other communities could possibly use the same platform that I'm trying to build. And I always have these big visions, but I never know how to even get there. Where do I start? I know it's more than, there's a lot of technical things behind it. I know there's a lot of research, but that connection, I never had it until, thankfully, again, I met and was introduced to Startups on the Blocks and was able to just learn more about how to grow it in terms of data. Things I just never thought about, framework, words like traction. There's a lot of things that I just did not know about and language that I need to know in order to get funding for my business. There's just a lot that I didn't know.
I would go to the stores and look online. They didn't have a wide variety of natural hair products about 8 years ago. And the ones that they did have, the ingredients, it would say that they were all natural. And when I would research the ingredients, a lot of the ingredients were not natural. I make everything, my shampoo, conditioner, I have an oil that I make, and I have 2 different separate butters. Like I had some people who were completely bald and grew their hair. It's about giving women their confidence back in their hair. I have this salon and then I have a second salon, and I have my products in about 5 beauty supply stores. So I need a manufacturer to keep up with the demand at this point. Startup on the Blocks has helped my business grow. Send me to different people. I'm able to do different pitch competitions to apply for grants in the community for small businesses. Lloyd's a really good person to connect with. He has a lot of resources here in the community that can help small businesses grow. If you have a product out there and you're trying to go big time, he's the person that you would want to meet with.
So it's really important to have some type of support because 9 times out of 10, most founders start out on their own. And to have somebody that has an idea of how the ecosystem works and is able to tap into other resources and bring back to the community, and that pretty much has encountered some of the roadblocks or going through the same roadblocks that we're currently going through and understands where you're at, your culture and how you respond to things, is a big help because you don't really have too many people that have access to what we have access to here in the community. And a lot of people believe that you have to leave and go to bigger cities to do the things that we're doing here. But I mean, it's one thing to have exposure, but you have to actually know it's here in the community in order to take advantage of the resources. So I get approached and I talk to friends all the time that wants to either start an idea or hear that I'm actually doing the app and wants to know more information about how are you doing it or what's the process, what's the path. I'm like, man, we have somebody here, Startup on the Blocks, Lloyd Richard. And Lloyd is here, he's a great resource to the community and to founders that's trying to learn the ecosystem. So join Startup on the Blocks.
Welcome, welcome. How are you, Patrick?
I am amazing. I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Glad to be here. Glad to have you as a guest today and getting this year started off in a really good fashion. Yeah, it's just so much going on, and it's you know, a challenge, to kind of get off to a good start, but it's definitely worth the effort and trying to make things happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'll give you like a minute or two to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll jump into our giving a shout out to our sponsors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my name is Patrick Paige. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I am the founder of Paige Solutions. We are a consultants company, and what we focus on is we focus on helping people build leadership identity through their business, giving you the foundation on how to grow impact and income at the same time. And I'm just so grateful that I can do work with people that are passionate and that are hungry to make impact in their community. So I have the opportunity to plant those seeds and help water and grow the thing that you are called to give birth to. And so through the movement, I don't like to just call it business because I believe it's a movement. And so through this movement, I get to have impact with emerging entrepreneurs and organizations that are looking to grow.
Fantastic, and we're glad to have you here, and so you can share your story. You got some interesting things going on. I'm definitely looking forward to learning more. First, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsors and kind of get them to make sure they get their due. Like a lot of partners, and these are mostly our partners here, and they've helped us reach a lot of founders, and we just want the founders to actually take advantage of some of this stuff, like all the Blacks in Technology members, our startup science program here. That's access to anything you want to know about being a startup founder, and so it's a nice resource to have. We partner with Coda. That's free. Get that free for 6 months with unlimited AI. It's a real good tool. You can run your whole startup back office off that, and that's pretty great. And you remember Make Startups, of course.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. So are you still doing anything with them?
I'm still connected with the community there, but no longer living in Georgia.
Okay, gotcha. And Pitch Bob, a bunch of resources. So just reach out if you want to get the discount code we have for them. It's a fast start program for your startup. Having an AI agent at your side all the time and helping you with all your documentation. And our core platform is this Lean Stack here. I'm on the board of the Black Innovation Leaders of Florida, and so it's a great organization providing a lot of resources throughout the state of Florida, and also part of Black Innovation Alliance. It's got close to a couple hundred companies that are members, that all those members, they work with Black startups and Goody Nation. That's they have a good accountability program, and their program have all kinds of resources for founders. So if you definitely reach out to them if you need anything. And so these are some of the folks here that actually put up a lot of the money that help fund what we do. And so give a big shout out to them. Had lunch with our one of our resident bank sponsors earlier this week, and that was a pretty neat deal. So just these are the organizations that help us out and make it so you can have access to a lot of resources that are at no charge. So it's a pretty neat situation. This is some of the training stuff we offer. Like I just said, it's we got the resources from that standpoint. So it's just a matter of you as a founder taking advantage of them. And what our challenge is to help you with designing, pitching, and launching scalable business models. And once you learn how to do these scalable business models and learn how to pitch that, then you can recruit, co-founders, mentors and partners, get into programs. And so that's what's the key to all this stuff. One thing I like about the Make Startups and Eric over there was that, what did you think about that screening that they do to help you learn how to that rubric, it grades how well you fill out the application and helps you improve. How did you have any experience with that?
Absolutely. I had a lot of experience with the co-founder OS. One of the main things is I believe it just helped founders refine the process before they get in front of an audience where, you're talking about, hey, what is my unique value proposition? What is my business model? What does this look like? And how does this stand when it comes down to communicating this value? And I believe co-founder OS has just done really well with being able to refine that process. And like you said, it grades you, right? So it grades every step of the way as you're building your model out. And so I believe it's an amazing program to be able to put your work in there and for it to give you real-time feedback. And so absolutely amazing program.
Fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, and this particular program is if you want to make sure you have all the background information about patents and trademarks and get access to the training, you get access to it for a year. But we won't be taking any more applications for this after the end of this month. And so definitely make sure if you're interested, take advantage of that. Just click on the link here, kukuinstitute.org, get started, and look for the Patent Hacks link, and then just fill out that form, and we'll give you that'll get you access to the Patent Hacks Learning Center. I've created some AI agents that understand all the stuff about patents and trademarks. You get access to that 24/7, and I'm here every Thursday in our networking session to answer any questions about that kind of stuff, and have office hours on the weekend. And there's also a couple of podcasts in there. I need to go in and create some videos for that as well. So So we help founders learn about all these phases that you go through when you got a business idea, you're a startup. So this is a slide we've been using for the last 5.5 years. This is the startup science one that takes you learn about all the phases. And the key thing here, somebody here at the vision stage, they make idea stage, they may be trying to raise money. And typically you don't raise money to after your unit economics. And so it's just learning how to do the right thing at the right time. And this is the basic traction roadmap, because that's the metric that all people who wants to help you or provide you funds, they want to know how, do you have any traction, or and so that's what this is. This is a traction roadmap, but it kind of parallels a money curve, but it's just the ability of your business model to generate value. So that's kind of what the idea is there. But this is a milestone approach with the lean stack program. And by the way, Ash Murray has a new tool out that just launched this week. It's called Lean Spark, and it's the AI agent that actually, is there with you 24/7 to help you on your deal too. And so it should be a pretty nice tool to use. Alrighty, but that's kind of basically the way our lens we look at things. We want to make sure you got all. You know where you are and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing, and we want to get you set to be able to use all those resources out there. That's the fantastic thing. All right, next, I think what I want to do, Patrick, is I created a little explain a video about your company, and hopefully it's on the market. You haven't seen it yet, so we all gonna get surprised here. Let me see, can I get it up and running? Let me find it here. Mike, I have a student that's his title is generative graphics designer. Let's see how good he did today.
Let me ask you something. What if the biggest thing holding your company back isn't the market or your strategy or even your team, but you? Yeah, it's a tough question. But today we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that completely flips leadership on its head. It turns out it's not so much about what you do, but who you are. I mean, you've seen this happen, right? You've got this brilliant strategy, a team full of rock stars, and then nothing. The whole thing just kind of fizzles out. It's the exact kind of thing that keeps founders and leaders staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. But what if we've been looking for the answer in all the wrong places? So what do? We get stuck playing whack-a-mole with the symptoms, right? Burnout over here, team drama over there, another missed target. But look, those things are just the tip of the iceberg. The real problem, the huge chunk of ice under the water that can sink the whole ship, is almost always some kind of unresolved conflict deep inside the leaders themselves. And that realization leads us to a huge shift in how we think about all this. It's a totally new model for leadership that says, hey, stop focusing on skills first. Your real lasting performance, it's not about the tools in your toolbox. It's about the identity you've built from the ground up. Just look at the difference here. The old way, it's like a hamster wheel, isn't it? We try new behaviors, we buy the latest software, we read all the books, and we just hope for better outcomes. The new model completely flips that script. It starts with the core of who you are, your identity. And when you have that solid foundation, real accountability isn't something you have to force on people, it just grows. And that's what leads to success that actually lasts. So, in a way, your job description totally changes. You're not just a manager of spreadsheets and outputs anymore. You become an internal conflict specialist. Think about that. Your main job is to hunt down and resolve the hidden friction, first in yourself and then in your team, that is secretly sabotaging everyone's performance. Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Well, it's all built around a really structured approach called the OBO framework. It's designed to systematically turn all those messy internal challenges into real, tangible boosts in performance. And with this framework, the sequence is everything. You can't skip a step. It breaks down into 3 simple but super powerful steps. First, you overcome. This is where you identify and dismantle all those internal barriers that are holding you and your team back. Second, you become. This is the active part, where you consciously develop the clarity and the emotional intelligence, the EQ, to lead effectively. And only after you do those 2 things can you get to the final step, a truly sustainable outcome. And that's exactly why the order is so critical. I mean, think about it this way. You can't force a plant to grow, right? Trying to jump straight to the outcome without doing the hard foundational work of overcome and become, it's basically like demanding a harvest from a field where you never even planted any seeds. Sure, you might get lucky, but any success you have is just pure chance. And believe me, it will not last. Now, you might be thinking this is just another abstract business theory. But it's not. This is earned wisdom. It was forged through some incredible adversity, and that's what gives it real, authentic weight. The guy who created this framework, Patrick Paige, he didn't dream this up in a university classroom or a corporate retreat. His insights come from a life that, well, demanded resilience at pretty much every single turn. And his journey is, wow, it's pretty remarkable. We're talking about going from the chaos of childhood trauma, losing his father, even homelessness, all the way to the intense discipline of serving in the U.S. Air Force, within the NSA. You can just see this search for structure and meaning. And that path of discovery eventually led him to a totally new mission, not just to deal with his own pain, but to build a system, a repeatable system, to help other people transform their pain into real power. Essentially, his own life became the first case study for the OBO framework. He had to overcome just immense hardship. Then he had to become someone new through discipline and discovery to finally reach the outcome of finding his life's mission. And that's what gives this whole thing its power. It was lived long before it was ever taught. Okay, so that's the powerful origin story. But let's bring it back to you. What does all this actually mean for an organization? If you decide to adopt this identity-first approach, how does it really change the way you build your teams and shape your culture day to day? Well, there are 3 things that really make this approach stand out. First, it is not a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter program. Everything is customized. Second, mental health isn't some checkbox HR initiative that's off to the side. No, it's woven right into the fabric of leadership development. And finally, it pulls from this incredible veteran ethos of service. It's about having a clear mission and purpose, not just top-down command and control. And when you lay it out like this, the choice becomes incredibly clear, doesn't it? Are you building a culture based on psychological safety, where people can actually be themselves, or one based on fear? Are you developing whole human beings, or are you just feeding the nonstop hustle culture machine? At the end of the day, it's the difference between a culture you design with intention and a culture that's just, a vibe. So, if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. Stop trying to fix the outputs. That's like trying to tape dying leaves back onto a tree. Instead, go to the source. Water the roots. Focus all your energy on clarifying and strengthening the identity of your leaders. If you do that, healthy, sustainable performance will grow all on its own. It's a natural result. So let's leave you with this final thought to chew on. Scaling your company, it doesn't magically change you. All it does is take who you already are and turn up the volume. So the most critical question you can ask yourself as a leader isn't what's our next strategic move. The real question is much simpler and much harder. Who am I when the pressure is on?
Wow, wow, wow. What do you think?
I am blown away. I am blown away. I was a
Absolutely.
little. I'm gonna be honest with you, Lloyd. I was a little nervous. I was I was a little nervous. I said, man, he got a whole video created. I've never seen it. I don't know what this is gonna say. Man, I had to take a couple notes to talk about some things that was there. Man,
Okay. Yeah,
wow.
I figured you'd get a kick out of it. So how well did the video do? But based on your LinkedIn profile and your website.
Phenomenal. It's been that it went into even down to the story, right? Like how it had to be lived out before it can ever be taught, right? The framework was my life before I could even, develop the actual framework and program. Wow, that was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, well, I will mention that too. We use Notebook LM to do that, and it didn't take any effort on my part other than gathering information and having ChatGPT analyze it and then dump that into Notebook LM. And because I didn't even press it to create any special video, I just let it do the default. But the bottom line is, you know, I could have gave it the video a prompt, created a video based on a prompt or something, so it could have got more flexibility, and yeah. So yeah, but that's kind of there. But that's a lot about you and your company, but you didn't, just get to your company. So we want to kind of back up and go back to, your childhood. How did you, your high school, military, whatever, what led to all this kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great question. I believe that, my story, man, it really started. I'll go back even a little bit before high school. In middle school, one of the most pivotal things that happened to me was, when my father was killed in an accident. That was part of the process of development for me.
Hmm.
It's when I realized that life is so much more than what we sometimes just see it as. And so, after that happened, it was really, really a search. It was a search for purpose, a search for identity, right? A search for, what does this mean now, right? That I lost a parent, and, how do I live and how do I move forward? And so that was my first case of figuring out, how do I truly overcome this?
Yes.
And through that process, my family, we didn't grow up, having all the resources, and so, we were evicted very frequently, from our living situations, and my mother was a single mother, and
Yeah.
I was always studying the things that we went through. And I
Yes.
think that's one of the first things I realized. I had to study, my current situation. I had to be very aware. And so what I started to do, Lloyd, was I started to study what we lacked. And a lot
Yes.
of what we lacked was, one, we didn't have financial readiness. We didn't understand finances. We didn't understand how to be able to develop skill sets. And so I'm just so, honored to tell this story, because I always say, your situation is not your destination. And that situation of everything that, I experienced, leading into high school, I slept in a closet, Lloyd, right? I lived in
Wow.
a, and it was so interesting, because it was all of my family in one household. It's probably like about 13 to 15 of us, all
Wow.
in like at one point it was a 2 bedroom, and then we upgraded to like a 4 bedroom. But in the 4 bedroom, I still didn't have the space, and I had to sleep in
Mhm.
the closet. But that closet felt so good, Lloyd. You know why? It's because I knew that situation, it would shape me. It would refine me. And that's exactly what it did. So in high school, I did 4 years of Air Force JROTC.
Oh, wow.
Um,
I didn't know that.
and so throughout that program, I started to learn about leadership, right? I started to learn about communication and presentation, and being able to understand, how do you present yourself? How do you become disciplined in what you're doing, right? And so I started to be trained. I got on the drill team in the ninth grade, right? I started to start learning how to drill with the rifles and do the
Yeah.
spins and all the turns and all the things. But it showed me a level of discipline that was necessary, and that was starting to build on the blocks of entrepreneurship. A lot of people say, do you think have you always been the entrepreneur? And honestly, yes. And it's not because of me wanting to be in business. It's because I always wanted to figure out, how can I provide a solution. Even looking back at elementary school, I remember one time I got in trouble because I had a whole bag of candy of Laffy Taffies, and I was I was selling them for $4 and I ended up getting them confiscated. But it was it was a journey of figuring out, okay, I know that my friends, they love candy, and sometimes their parents give them money, so maybe I can be a solution, and I can bring candy to school and sell it to them. And so I've always had the mindset of, how can I provide solutions to those that are around me. And so, going through high school, I did really well in education when it comes down to studying. But you know what? I really had trouble with figuring out what was that next thing for me. And
Okay.
so I didn't go to college, Lloyd. I didn't, graduate high school and go to a 4 year degree. That wasn't my
Hmm.
pathway. I
Gotcha.
actually took a gap year after high
Okay.
school. And I started working at Bank of America.
Okay.
But I want to specifically tell that story though, Lloyd, because
Go ahead.
I think that it will shine some light on, like, what that really looked like. And so for me, right after high school, all my friends are going off to the military, they're going off to college, and I'm just like, I still don't know what I want to do. But again, I studied what we lacked. So I'm like, maybe I should go into the financial industry. Maybe I should look into finances and banking. And so what I did was, I applied for a Bank of America teller position. I was 18 years old, And I remember applying for the position, going in for the interview. I had my little tie and I was ready. I had my bright orange folder. And I remember going into the interview and I sat down. I was waiting to be called in for my interview. And I remember seeing a gentleman also waiting for an interview. And this gentleman, he looked like he was probably, 10 to 15 years older than me. He had on a full suit. He had a briefcase. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to compete against this.
Right.
And what ended up happening, I'm going into the interview, and I thought I did really well, but I was still nervous because I'm like, there's this guy who looks like he's been in business all of his life, and look at me with this bright orange folder with just a tie on and ready to make this happen. And what ended up happening, Lloyd, is I ended up getting the position. And when I got the position at Bank of America, what happened was, I was like, whatever happened to the guy with the full suit? I'm just curious. And they was like, what's interesting was when he got into the interview, he couldn't even get his briefcase open.
Oh,
they said the guy, he was sharp, but he couldn't even get his briefcase open. So he was nervous. He couldn't get his resumes out to give to the people. And it was an aha moment in that moment for me. Sometimes we compare ourselves based off of what we can see. And sometimes we disqualify ourselves because we look at what other people have done. Maybe this person looked like they got it all put together. Maybe look like they've been in business all of their life. Maybe it looks like everything is coming to them easy. And then you look at yourself and you're like, well, can I do that? Is that possible for me? And so that was one of the first cases for me to not disqualify myself. And so, after being at Bank of America for about a year, I ended up joining the Air Force.
Okay.
I ended up joining the Air Force and I went into signals intelligence. So I was working, in the communications with signals intelligence with the NSA. And I had to get my top secret clearance. And one of the things in that process that I learned was that when I follow someone else's mission and I live by it, and I'm like, you know what, this is what I want to do. Sometimes you start to take on that identity of the title. I started to take on the identity of I am an airman. I'm in the Air Force. That is my life's purpose because I took the title as my identity.
Okay.
And what I started to notice is I started to lose myself, Lloyd. I started to lose, my idea of what my true mission, that back to that solution. What solution can I bring to those around me? I started to lose that. And throughout that time, I started to feel this tug on me. I said, there's something more. There's something more here. And for those that are not familiar with the military, there's a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities while you're serving in the military active duty. And I came across one of them, Lloyd, at 20 years old. I was renting an apartment in Augusta, Georgia. And I remember thinking to myself, the military is paying for me to live in this apartment. They're giving me extra funds to be here. I've heard about this thing called the VA loan. And I'm like, if the military is giving me money to live, why won't I put it into something that I can build wealth with, right? And I'm like, maybe I should buy a house. And this is me, 20 years old, not knowing anything about buying a home. And I'm like, maybe I should buy a home. And I started to ask people around me. This is another lesson that I learned, Lloyd. I started to ask people around me, should I buy a house? Should I do this? Should I do this? I'm asking friends. I'm asking family. I would say over 95% of them told me I shouldn't do it, Lloyd.
Okay.
And they told me, they was like, oh, you have time to do that. You're too young. Maybe you should wait about that. You just got into the apartment, Patrick. Don't move too fast. And, you should just wait. And in that moment, Lloyd, I was like, I got to figure out how can I break this barrier of always trying to find approval from other people. So in that moment, I went against the grain. At 20 years old, I bought my first house. I broke my lease, actually. My lease wasn't even up. I had a 12-month lease. I was probably like 4 or 5 months into my lease. But, I broke my lease and my lender actually paid for me to actually move out of the apartment. I negotiated that. I bought my first house, and the lady who sold me my house, her name is Miss Lydia. She became my mentor. She said, young man, have you ever thought about being in real estate? Have you ever thought about owning your own business? I said, well, I'm in the military. Maybe, I have thought about, doing something in business before. I've thought about finances and banking and all these things. And she's like, come to my office. And that's when mentorship in business started for me. Okay. She started to mentor me. A year later, Lloyd, at 21 years old, I became a licensed real estate agent in the state of Georgia.
Okay.
And my journey of figuring out entrepreneurship while I'm working a 9 to 5 started. And so that was like kind of the beginning of my journey. So while I was working 9 to 5 and I was working third shift, so I'll get off work at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll go directly into selling homes, showing homes. And so it was really me figuring out, what does this look like for me to provide a solution while I'm still serving in the Air Force? So that was my transition, kind of growing up, high school, going into the military. And I'll be honest, Lloyd, that transition out of the military is what was tough for me.
Okay.
It was very tough, because I started to see these opportunities for me to pour into other people. I started to help other people buy their first home. I started to help people understand financial literacy, how they can become homeowners, and how they can start understanding how to build wealth for their family. You know, a lot of times now we hear about generational wealth, right? And so I felt like I was being a piece that can have impact in building generational wealth. And so I started helping people do that. And then, you know, the time started to come where I started to get ready to transition, you know, out the military, Lord. And, you know, I'll be honest, while being in business and real estate and being introduced to all of these things, I still didn't have a hold of that identity. I
Okay.
still felt like I was allowing the title of real estate agent and business owner, all these titles that people called me. I started to allow those titles to take precedence over my actual identity. And so I started to lose myself. I started to become depressed and anxious. And I found myself in relationships and doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And this is my first time telling this full story publicly, Lloyd, but I feel like those need to hear it. I fell
Okay.
into a deep depression, Lloyd, and I actually ended up getting kicked out of the military.
Wow. I
and
didn't know that.
and I never told anyone this, right, publicly. But I
Hmm.
and I can honestly say, me being in the position that I was in, Lloyd, I got kicked out because I was doing things that I felt like I needed to do to cope with the fear inside, the doubt inside, me running from the thing that I know I was actually called to do and not really knowing how to get there. Me
Yeah.
taking on the identity of what my family wanted. Patrick, you should do 20 years, or Patrick, you shouldn't do this. And I allowed those people to dictate the direction of my life. And so what they ended up doing, that forced me into a position to where here's another point where I had to overcome. And so I ended up getting kicked out the military, Lloyd. And this was right when COVID in 2020 hit. This was in April of 2020. And I remember being in my house and thinking to myself, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. All of my family, they looked up to me. They thought I was doing great things, but I'm a failure because I didn't complete. I didn't complete what I set out to do.
Right.
And I fell into a deep place of darkness.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know. I felt ashamed.
Hmm.
Uh, and I didn't really understand how to start having conversations with people.
Yes.
And I knew at that point it wasn't about real estate. It wasn't about entrepreneurship. It wasn't about business. It was about, who am I?
Okay. All righty.
Who am I? Right
Yeah.
now, like after that, no longer in the Air Force, no longer in Charlotte, North Carolina with all my family. Who
Yes.
am I?
Hmm.
And that is where the identity search started.
Fantastic.
That is where it started.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, yeah. So, how did you formalize it? You know, into like how did it, how long did it take you to formalize it into like a business activity?
So I would say it probably took me. That was in April. October of 2020, I put on my very first speaking engagement where I said, you know what, this is not about real estate. This is not about selling a specific product. This is about me telling my story
Yes.
and me allowing my story to be my currency. I believe, Lord, we all experience things that can serve people. There's
Yeah.
something that you've been through or you're currently going through that can serve someone in their position. And I started to think, through all of the things that I feel, I want to talk about this. I want to share this with someone. And so instead of me applying for a speaking opportunity, I said, you know what? I want to cultivate and create this experience where I can share my story with friends, with family, with people that could be inspired. And so it started as, you know what? I don't want to sell real estate right now. I want to figure out how can I figure out how to pour into other people the way I wish I would have been poured into. And
Gotcha.
so what I did at that moment was I became what I wish I had. I became what the resource that I wish I had when I was doubting myself.
Yes.
I started to have speaking engagements where I can bring people into a space and I can talk to them about, hey, just because you're going through a trial, just because you're going through something painful, that's sometimes what was needed in order for something to be produced. Right.
Yes.
I often say, you know, it doesn't always start off fruitful. Sometimes it has to start off painful. And that's exactly that was my story, and that's what I started to do, Lloyd. I started to use my voice as my amplifier. I
Mm-hmm.
started to talk about the things that I was going through rather than sit in them. And
Okay.
so from there, people started to pay me to come speak to their communities.
Okay.
People started to pay me to host workshops. And so now the aha moment was, oh, I don't have to sell houses to be in business, right? I can tell my story. I can talk about these things. I can help people figure out and piece together, you know, how to start doing these things. And Lloyd, in this process, I'm still learning. In this
Yeah.
process, I'm still becoming. And so
Yeah.
there were some things that I was doing even in those moments that I no longer do now because
Mm-hmm.
again, I had to be what I call pruned and I had to be conditioned, and so it wasn't overnight. I'll say that, Lloyd. It wasn't overnight for me to just come to the business idea of Paige Solutions. It was something that every day it was a building block. I always say that every day is another page in your book of life,
Yeah.
but you determine what's on that page.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So like when I was reviewing your profile, I didn't look at it that close, and your website, I didn't overly look at it too close. But af- when ChatGPT started developing some of the insights, and I dumped them over in the Notebook LM, and I was listening to the audio podcast, and it said you went out and got some type of certification. Um, Tell us a little bit about that.
absolutely. So what I did was I started to look for certifications that will allow me to be able to share my story more, to be able
Okay.
to start being able to actually coach people one on one with the very thing that I was doing. You know, from one to many, like on stages and on platforms. I wanted to be able to do that, and so what I did was I started to look into different life purpose certifications. So I became a life purpose coach. I
I
became
never heard of
certified.
that. I never heard. Life
I be
purpose coach. What is? Tell us what that is.
Absolutely. So a life purpose coach, what it does is the coach is actually coaching you through life circumstances that might come up or things that you've already been through. A lot of it is actually uncovering some things that have happened in your past, in your
Okay.
childhood, traumatic events, because
Yeah,
oftentimes we don't realize a lot of those things have shaped who we are and what we
for
do.
sure. Yes.
So a life purpose coach, our job is to go back and let's go dig up some of those things that you may have suppressed. Let's
Yes.
go dig up some of those things that you may have said, you know what, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to deal with that. And
Mm-hmm.
we bring it back to surface level and we address it. Right? We talk about what does this look like for you now? Right? How do you deal with this pain that you once experienced?
Yeah.
And then we also talk about how are you going to continue to move to be able to step into a position where you're not a victim of that. You're
Yeah.
actually victorious because you survived it. And
Yeah.
so essentially the life purpose coach position is to take you from victim to victory. That's a
Okay.
process. And
Okay.
so that process is life on life. It's for us to talk, it's to develop relationships. And so what I realized as a life purpose coach is that we all have something that we have to continuously look at and say, am I allowing this to keep me from being who I actually am? Am I allowing this to be in the way of who I'm becoming? And
Okay.
so it's removing those barriers and those blocks. It's breaking free of those bondage moments. And so that's what a life purpose coach is supposed to do. It's supposed to clear the way, help you have that clarity, and also focus on your commitment. What are you focused on?
Yeah.
And that's what a life purpose coach does.
Yeah. So what does that have to do with business startups and companies, enterprise companies and stuff like that. What does all that has to do with all that?
Amazing question. Amazing question. It has everything to do with business. It has everything to do with enterprising. It has everything to do with business because it is the foundation of not only how you get in business, but how you stay in business.
Okay.
I see a lot of entrepreneurs, I see a lot of founders who are fired up, they have an idea, they got a vision, they get in, and then life happens.
Okay.
And then circumstances happen, setbacks happen. And what it does is it builds resiliency. Resiliency training starts with you. It doesn't start with the leadership development program on your job. The
Okay.
resiliency training, it starts with you identifying those barriers. And sometimes what has to happen is we have to have someone to call out the blind spots, Lloyd. And I
Okay.
believe there's a lot of blind spots in business. I believe there's a lot of blind spots when it comes down to building a business. When you're a founder, when you have a vision, when you know you're called to do something, there's a lot of blind spots. And so what happens is when it comes down to overcoming, which is part of the OBO framework, I think this would be a good opportunity to kind of show the framework here. Like part of the overcoming process is that we have to understand, who am I and what am I called to do? And before I talk about what I'm building, I need to know who I am and what I'm called to build. And I think oftentimes when we have a vision, we get so excited to move on the vision without truly understanding what is the foundation of this all. Who are you without the service and without the product? Because that is the foundation. That's the root of all the things. So identity is the framework that you have to begin with when you're building a business, when you're scaling a business, when you're pitching a business. A lot of that passion, the unique value proposition, it comes from you. And so we have to remember that all of that is based in identity. And so I just want to mention this. There's a process that has to happen in the overcome phase. And this is the process. We have to make sure that when we are looking at overcoming, we have to ask ourselves, am I in the way of my growth? Because oftentimes the delay can be right in the mirror, Lord. The delay can be right in the mirror. And I found that a lot of founders, they can't move forward, or they can't, they feel like they hit a glass ceiling. A lot of companies and organizations with their teams, they hit glass ceilings because they have not focused on developing the person. Leadership is nothing without people. And so servitude, service is the service is, who are you and who are you becoming? How is your life at home? Because maybe you're a public success, but maybe it's a private failure going on. Maybe there's some things going on behind the scenes that's stopping you from being consistent. And so maybe you don't have a sales issue. Maybe you have a commitment issue because there's some things inside that you have to solve. And so what I do, Lloyd, and what my company does is we shine a light on those areas, and we help teams be able to figure out what is in the way that sometimes it's not always easy to see. And so overcoming is part of identity, but it's also realizing that, there's a foundation that is oftentimes missed. And that foundation is, who am I? And what am I able to do? What am I able to build? And at that point is when you're breaking free of the limits that you placed on yourself. You're breaking free of the limits that your family may have placed on you. And so the overcoming part is all about breaking those limits and those systematic things that may have happened while you were growing up. Some of those things that you might still be operating in.
Yeah.
And so
I
that's
see,
important.
yeah, I see this philosophy, identity before skills. That sounds pretty interesting, because a lot of us, we go out and try to get all these skills and stuff, which I think we do need skills, but you're saying make sure you got your identity straightened out before that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the skill is only going to get you but so far. At some point, and this is what I learned, Lloyd, I was really skillful. I had the skills. I was developed, and I had these different skills, but it got to the point where I had the skills, but I still felt like I wasn't enough. I had the skills, but I'm still comparing myself to so many other people and talking about what I don't have. And so you can take the most skillful person, but if they're not secure in who they are, you can run circles around them. Why? It's because the confidence doesn't come from the skill, it comes from who you are. And
Yes.
so I want founders to know this. You are going to build a confidence like no other when you are standing firm on the foundation of who you are, because when you're standing firm on that, you're not going to allow anybody to tell you that you're not valuable, that you're not worthy, that you don't have anything special. And so that is the piece that I feel like we have to make sure that we lock in when we're building a movement, when we're building a mission, when you're building a business. You have to make sure that your foundation is rooted in your identity, because if not, that skill is going to get you to a place where you're going to look around and you're not even going to know. You're gonna be like, how did I get here? Who am I? Because
Hmm.
you're taking on all these titles and skills and you're becoming confused because of what other people are telling you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So as we go on here, if you got any questions in the audience, feel free to ask them, and so don't hesitate. And even if some startup questions, we'll be glad to help you get them answered. So what about this second part, to become? So what's that all about?
Absolutely. So becoming is to me is in the center of all the things, right? It is literally the heart posture, right? And that's why the becoming is also it's literally the middle, it's the core. Becoming is so important because it's a process.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's a process is because before there's actually a secret step in there, Lloyd.
Okay.
Becoming, before you can become, you have to unbecome.
Okay.
There's some things that have to die. There's some habits that have to go, right? So before you actually become, there's some unbecoming that has to happen. Some
Yeah.
mindsets, some beliefs that have to go out the window. So when
Yes.
you're building something new, when you're in new territory, it's going to require a new version of you. But some
Yes.
of us, guess what? We're full. We got so many things that we're carrying, and there's some things that need to be released. So before you can become, there's some things that you have to unbecome. So maybe you've been told all your life, hey, you want to do all of this while you're young, because when you're older, you're not going to have time. Let me unbecome my age being a barrier. Unbecome. Maybe there's some things that people have told you, like, well, business is hard, and you don't want to get into business until you have this amount of money. Maybe you got to unbecome some of the things and the skills that people have
No,
taught you.
you don't want to have to manage all these people and all this stuff. It's just so many things you grow up, people tell you, and you carry those things, and they're holding you back.
They're
Yeah.
holding you back. They're holding you back. And this is the thing I had to unbecome. I had to unbecome the person. Uh, and here's the thing. I had a lot of self-sabotage, Lloyd. I used to
Yes.
sabotage opportunities because, deep down, I didn't believe that I was qualified.
Hmm.
And that's something I had to unbecome. There was a level of fear. There's a level of fear that was in there. And I felt like I was moving out of fear. I believe there's a lot of people, when you have this new thing, this business, this baby that you're like, you know what? I want to give it to the world. Sometimes it's fear that's standing in the way. And so I had to unbecome, and I started to do what I fear in order for
Yeah.
it to disappear.
Okay.
That
Gotcha.
I had to do what I fear in order for it to disappear. I had to take that leap, Lloyd. And so part of the becoming was, you know what? Let me unbecome who I thought I had to be and
Yes.
become who I know I need to be. And
That's
so developing that leader within, it started to give me clarity. And then that's when I started to realize that, Lord, even when I was coaching and when I talking with clients as a life purpose coach, there was still something missing. And I was like, what is this? What is this? And that's when I truly found my faith, right? And that's when I truly locked into my faith. And I know that everyone, has their different level of faith. But for me, that was finding my mission and my identity from my faith, and really allowing myself to find the Lord in my case, right? To be able to
hmm
understand that I know that I'm created to do something special, and I'm not going to allow myself to get in the way of that. And so for me, part of that becoming was, you know what? Everything that people told me I had to be, everything that I heard, I don't have to attach to that. And so
Yeah.
part of the becoming is also realizing that you're going to look crazy. You're gonna seem like you're the extremist on the block. Oh, you're just so extreme. Why are you doing so much? Why does this business matter to you? Why does this mission matter to you? So I want to encourage somebody right now. Maybe people are calling you crazy. Maybe people are telling you, no, this is too much, or this is not the time, or AI is going to take your job. AI is going to take your business. Maybe people are telling you these things and you feel like you're doing something crazy. you are going in the right direction. When you are
Yeah.
doing something that people are maybe telling you you're zigging when other people are zagging, it's okay. And it's being okay with your uniqueness. And
Yeah.
so that was part of my becoming process, Lloyd.
Yeah. So like this quote I see on here, leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. That was an interesting quote. Is that something you came up with?
Yeah, and it's because, Lloyd, it's all servant based.
Okay.
I believe in servantship. I
Okay.
believe that leadership starts with servantship. How can I lead if I don't know how to serve?
Gotcha.
And I believe all business is how can I serve you? And
Yes.
like the top, like it's all about servitude. And I believe sometimes we get so focused in how can I lead the best team? And I'm going to be the CEO of my company, and I'm going to hire all of these people. See,
Yeah.
it's not about leading them. It's how can I serve them at such a high level that they can take that servantship and they're like, you know what? Because I'm being served, I can operate at the highest level in this company. I can operate at the highest level in this mission.
Okay.
So, and anybody can lead and when everything's peaceful. My
Yes.
question is, are you able to lead when things are rocky? Real
Yeah.
leaders are created in times of war.
Yeah.
When you look at our history and we look at the people that we study, they didn't become leaders based off of peace. They became leaders because in a time of conflict, they were able to stand up and still serve. And so
Man.
at the end of the day, leadership in your business, leadership through what you're building is about how do you serve people? Serve
Yeah.
them well, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to see more.
Yeah, when your cash flow is about to run out and you got a payroll. Yeah. All righty. So number 3 is outcome. And yeah. So tell us about that phase.
I love outcomes so much because I believe people reverse engineer the model and say, well, Patrick, doesn't it make sense to start with the outcome? And when you really think about this, Lloyd, this OBO framework is something that you can go through over and over and over again in your business, in your personal life, whatever you're developing, because it's an ongoing process. And so the outcome is very important because what this is, it's about the production, it's about the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
What fruit are you developing? Meaning from the point of my vision and my mission and my business, me being a founder, me being founder of this business, what fruit do I want to produce?
Mm-hmm.
And I always say your outcome will literally give you the direction to your income. And
Okay.
oftentimes we think that the outcome is just all about setting goals. No, the outcome is also about how are you being fruitful with what you have? Are you being a steward with what you have and using what you have to create opportunities? I always say, do not wait for the opportunity, create it. Don't wait for the opportunity to pitch someone. Create the opportunity to pitch someone. And I think sometimes a lot of people are waiting for the right outcome. But outcome is all about stewardship. It's about sustainability. It's about long-term impact, right? It's about what significance can I bring to my community with this mission, with this business, with this thing that I have. So
Yeah.
the question is not about how much, not just how much money can I make, not the valuation, but also how much impact. I have this thing that I call SOIs, Lloyd.
Okay.
SOIs is it's the stream of impact, but it's also the stream of income. But I
Okay.
say, let's focus on our stream of impact, and then our stream of income will increase. It's the
Okay.
same thing with outcome. If I am looking to have the outcome to be able to be impactful, to be fruitful, to be able to help others and serve others, with that outcome, opportunities are going to find me. I'm going to start attracting the right opportunities. I'm going to start being able to create rooms and circumstances where people are being transformed. That transformation is important because businesses bring transformations. Founders bring transformation through your startup. You're going to bring transformation. And so outcome is all about what transformation can I create? What impact can I create? And through that is how you start to find more opportunities to make more money.
Fantastic. So to tell us a little bit about your business model and like your what clients do you go after, what kind of services you provide for them and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So my business model, so with the leadership and business consultant, what we do is we find emerging businesses, We also find organizations that are in a space right now where they're, maybe they're getting sales or maybe they're starting and they're building a team, but they're like, we need some development. We need some maintenance. One of the biggest things with organizations and companies is uh, they don't always have systems to be able to maintain what they're building. And so what our company brings is a solution that will help you maintain what you're building through workshops, right? Through coming in and developing certain frameworks and curriculums that your people and your team can go through. And
Okay.
sometimes, Lloyd, to be honest with you, we have a behind the scenes mission where we're serving emerging entrepreneurs, and our U print is called the U print, YOU. And the U print framework is serving emerging entrepreneurs who are just getting started. So maybe you're not at corporate level or enterprising level. We still serve emerging entrepreneurs who are just getting started with an idea. And we serve them with our U print program that shows them how to develop and launch, right? And to give them the right resources to do so. So really our business model is twofold. We help emerging entrepreneurs, and we also help establish businesses and organizations that are looking to grow their teams and be able to help them in their leadership identity, which will allow them to be more proficient on their jobs, will allow them to be able to increase their sales, it will allow them to be able to have less burnout, right? We have a lot of companies right now that are experiencing burnout in their teams. A lot of them the morale is down. And so what we do as a company is we come in and we implement systems to where not only will they become better leaders, but they're going to be able to understand how to be able to take what it is that they have and maximize it because of the workshops and the different things that we create through our intellectual property. And we do that, and we have our refuel programs where we don't allow our clients to just choose one workshop and it's like that's all. We have refuel programs where they can bring us in quarterly, right? Where we come in and we work activity-based programming with their teams, and we help them be able to be more proficient in that specific area that they want to grow in. And we all do it from our leadership framework of OBO, but we break it down and we customize it to the company.
Okay, fantastic. I thought it might be a good idea to share, how, when folks are creating business models, or even you with your business model. I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to share a tab for this Notebook LM thing. I want to do a little experiment here, just
Okay.
to give people an idea. Let's see, what am I doing here? I'm gonna, okay, let's see. And just want me to stop and restart here. Sometimes I look at this stuff, but they have these software keeps getting updated so often. So this is the notebook I created based on stuff on your LinkedIn profile and
Okay.
on your page, and it has I just copy your LinkedIn profile and some of the stuff on your website, and then I had ChatGPT analyze it and stuff like that, and I put it all in one document and just paste it in here. Then over here, I can come in and chat and ask questions. Like one of the things I did earlier today, I had to generate some questions that I could ask you, and that's what this is here. And so let me get back, but I literally did that over here, and it generated those notes. But what I wanted to kind of demonstrate real quick, and the reason being I want to show everybody this is because we have a process that we work with founders where we have a 27-step prompt that simulates the whole business idea, the business model, the demand validation, and the marketing. But it starts off with the business model, but it stress tests the business model. And so we have them dump that results of that prompt over here in the sources, and it's just as simple as adding a source. And so you copy stuff out of and Claude does the best results on that. But then, so this is a podcast that's based on this reference down here, and I'm going to start it. I'm going to demonstrate this a little bit once.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
This is where we take a whole stack.
So could you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Dense
Sure.
source material, and really just pull out the most critical and surprising insights for you.
We're here to give you that shortcut to get you genuinely well informed without all the noise.
And today we are diving into a really fascinating area, organizational change.
That's right. Our sources are all about a firm called Next Page Solutions. It's a veteran-owned, mission-driven consulting firm.
Founded by a Patrick Paige.
Exactly. And they specialize in leadership and culture transformation, but, and this is the key, they start the whole conversation from a very different place than you might expect.
Okay, so our mission today is to unpack their proprietary framework. It's called the OBO framework.
OBO, yeah. That stands for overcome, become, and then outcome.
And more than just the acronym, we need to get to the heart of their core belief, which is that sustainable performance doesn't start with skills or your job title. It starts.
So I'm going to click this interactive thing and have a conversation with this podcast just to show people how they can use it. Like once you get your business idea in here, you can actually communicate with your business idea and ask it questions. You can kind of bring it to life. So I'm going to
with
start it
leadership
back.
Identity.
Click that interact thing there, and let's hope this works. And click play, and click.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Oh, hey, I think our listeners got something to say.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me a little bit about how the company makes money.
That is a great question.
A very pragmatic question.
You're jumping right to the business model.
We love that.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second.
What's fascinating here is that the way they make money is directly linked to their philosophy.
They aren't selling mass market products.
Not at all. They actively reject off-the-shelf content and generic training.
They position themselves for long-term partnerships.
That's where their highest impact and highest revenue comes from.
We're talking about annual partnerships, ongoing executive coaching, and iterative refinement.
Workshops and keynotes are more like entry points or catalysts, not the core business.
So they build recurring relationships and embedded influence rather than transactional revenue.
Right. And there's a second stream, curriculum licensing.
Oh, yes, the licensing.
This is where they allow internal L&D teams to scale their OBO and Uprint frameworks.
But with strict control, like trainer certification and customized materials.
It's a way to scale their impact without diluting the integrity.
Yeah,
Yeah. How do they use technology in their business?
That's a great follow-up question.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Given their human-centric model, you might expect them to avoid tech.
But they use technology to amplify the work, not replace it.
Their core business isn't tech-driven, but tech is essential for delivery.
They offer virtual and hybrid live-streamed interactive sessions.
So their long-term partnerships and training series aren't just in-person events.
They use technology to deliver and sustain engagement over time.
Think of it as a flexible delivery model for Mac.
So you can, you can bring your business idea to life. So isn't that amazing?
Lloyd, man, I'm over here stunned. I didn't even know what you were about to do over here. I'm over here like he's really talking to, and they're answering like what is this platform called? Like, just talk to us a little bit more about this, because I think this is really good for people who are watching right now.
Well, do you have a Gmail account?
I do.
Okay. Well, just open up your, and I'll show you. Just open up your browser and just type Notebook LM in there, one word, and you have access to it. And it's free.
Wow. That was really, really, and you know what's so good about this though, Lloyd? I believe some people can even learn a lot about even how to answer questions, like when it comes down to training and when you're on calls and different things like that. Like the same question you were just asking, it was really good to listen to how they were answering those questions, because when I'm sitting down and I'm doing like a discovery call with someone, and I'm talking about the business model and I'm having these conversations, that was a great example of how to be able to answer a question. And I think it was just modeled out so beautifully. You said this is a free resource that's available to founders.
Yeah. If you got only like a Gmail account, that's really what it all boils down to. And so like the video that I created, this is it right here. But no, that's the slide deck that I didn't show that. But anyway, the deal is like, let's say this slide deck thing, I can go in here and I can do a prompt down here, that's based on, let's say I could do a prompt for a lean canvas, say, please do a slide deck explaining the lean canvas or whatever, or I can do a slide deck based on the business model story pitch. Just basically, and it'll pull out all the information from the source and do that. But people are using this tool for anything and everything, for teaching classes, training material, like you just said. They're using it for business ideas. They're using it. You will literally be shocked how people are using this and it's just an amazing tool to have available and use to. But what I just use it, so the model of this thing is just say it synthesizes anything. So so like anything you got a question about, you can have an article, anything, and it'll literally synthesize that information. You can put a drawing in here and it'll create a story based on that drawing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How have you seen some of your founders use this and help them with like their business model and being able to maybe it's a process that they go to that can help them do something specific?
See, in a training material, most training materials, if you're new to it, it's going to be foreign. And so even like filling out a lean canvas business model, lean canvas one page business plan, I found it was, difficult for people to know how to fill it out or how do you say what to say on it. And so that's why I created the prompt that generated all the deliverables in the class. And then so you can see how it writes out, but you don't know everything about the business you're in, but the AI knows about the business you're in, And so when you, so to help you learn about the business you're in, you generate that podcast and just have a conversation with that podcast. Like if I put the whole results of the prompt in there, I say, well, what's the top customer segment? And it's going to tell you what the top customer segment is and explain why that's the top customer segment. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this is a tool that's available to founders in our Founders Insight program, and you can, and literally when we first started, you could run the prompt in just a regular mode and it'd take about 5 minutes to run. We just had the business model design in there, but then when we expanded to the whole program, and we found out if we run it in a deep research mode, it'll go out and find out all your marketing. Total addressable market. It goes and finds out everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so, but the average person doesn't understand all that. So you put it in this tool, the Notebook LM, and then just ask 1,000 questions. You see what I'm saying?
This is so good. This is one of those tools that I think is just it just gives you so much depth to your idea, to the vision, to what you're building. And honestly, I think it's an underused tool because I've been looking into a lot of AI models, Lloyd. I use a lot in the business, but I never knew about this. So even the video. So can you go a little bit into that? I know you showed us the podcast and all of that. Like what does that really look like to develop that?
So when you click on this video overview thing, it's just going to generate. If I click on it and don't give it any direction, it's going to generate another video, but it's going to be different than this first video right here. And so that's kind of what the idea is. And the videos tend to be somewhere between 6 and 7 minutes. But what you want to do is, if you want a specific type video, you go in here and you tell it, say, create me a video specifically about the OBO framework.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And then you can use that video as training material as a promotional thing on your website or something like that.
Lloyd, this just blew my mind,
Yeah.
because of the opportunities, even while you're serving people in your business, and like you said, with a lot of training opportunities, this could be so helpful. Even to having some modules, right? To have
Yeah.
modules when people are learning about certain things, to have it and if
Exactly
you have a
right.
community, yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
I use the infographic thing here just so I can kind of get an idea of what the the whole thing is about, and you can edit those as well. Now, the easiest one is the mind map, and I didn't do that on this one, but I'll just show you how easy and simple that is. I just clicked the mind map thing there, and see how fast they clicked it. And so,
Wow.
and then so you see it says, got that, and then it's got core philosophy, framework, um, founder context, and differentiators, services and solution, strategic insight for founders. See, so like whatever I use in ChatGPT, what I do is I say, I have I have a prompt that pulls out all the information, and then how it helps us here at the Kakoi Institute, but how does it also help founders?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And so that's what this part right here is. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's saying, resolving internal conflicts to scale. So if you like you said, your mindset is actually what's holding you back. Clarity before execution. You have to have that clarity before you scale, and that's one of the things that one of the takeaways from my stuff last year is having that clarity and accountability with empathy. Scaling amplifies identity. So, but it'll if you click here, it'll explode the whole
Wow.
and then you can see, and you can download it too. But you can click on entities, and it'll explain all of it to you.
This is this is like a wealth of information that I think is just, if anyone's watching this and they're building something and they have ideas and they're looking to elevate a little bit faster and have that acceleration, I believe that this is a great tool to do that. So I know you said that you use Chat GPT to help uh to help you kind of cultivate a little bit before you bring it over here. Are there any other resources that you would tell founders to look into that can help them while they're building?
Well, the first thing I tell people to go ahead and get in our Founders Insight program, and that's just apply.kakoinstitute.org, and then we'll give you access to all the stuff we've been creating over the last 5 years, and so we have AI agents for everything. It's like a lot of stuff founders just don't know how to do and how to understand, and so that's why we end up creating leveraging all these AI agents and stuff to help. So, like, let's say you create a traction roadmap, and you don't, and it's telling you all this stuff, but you don't know what it means because you're trying to determine out if your pricing model is viable, and so. Or if your business, it's sustainable or whatever. So you generate this stuff, and you don't know how to interpret it. So the best thing to do is the training material explains it to you, but it still don't tell you what all you have to do. So you dump the training material into and create an AI agent based on the training material, and so the AI understands what the training material is telling you. So it knows in order to evaluate this, you got to know how big your market is. So it goes out and find out the size of the market for each of your customer segment.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? And so that's the logic behind all of us, because most of this stuff, if you haven't ever been exposed to it, you it's hard. That's why it's just overwhelming for people. And so we try to come up with the tools to help people understand what the training is trying. And it's so subtle sometimes you don't and it's only a few concepts that are ingrained in the training material, and they just keep getting repeated over and over again.
Mm.
Yep. And then there's I'm gonna do this and we can get up because I've already went overtime. But the deal is the way the program works is I think let me just share my screen again.
Okay.
I'll show you the process for the whole program.
Okay.
This is the lean stack. Let's see. So let me go up here. Click over here. Went the wrong way. Okay. So the lean stack, this is kind of the flow from left to right. And you have, so the way the prompt does it takes you through all the way through the pink here. But what happens is these things are lean canvases, one-page business model. So you have your big idea canvas, but it's broken up into one for a business model for each customer segment. So most people never think about stuff like that. But if you notice, let's say these do represent customer segments. And so as you go from left to right, you can see you're actually getting rid of customer segments.
Mm.
So you heard this thing like early adopter or target market.
Right.
And see that the goal for a startup is try to get to this product market fit, but you can't get to it trying to serve all these different customers. You have to stress test all these customer segments through this desirability, viability, and feasibility. And then, but this viability test, in order to do you only need like 7 numbers and like in six of them default. The only one you have to figure out, no, 2 of them you have to say how much money you want to make, recurring annual revenue in 3 years, and what's your pricing model. Then it determines if your business model is viable based on that. But it also has a scale factor, so you can make sure you can design a business model that scales. And so this is the secret to designing a scalable business model. So if you want to scale at 10x, you put the 10x as one of those numbers, and then it'll tell you what you go for 3 years from now, you want to have 1 million annual recurring revenue, 10 million annual recurring revenue. Then it figures out based on your pricing model how many customers you have to have in order to do that. Then it works backwards scaling at that 10x rate back to current time. It tells you what you have to do each month in order to do that. So it's your traction roadmap. It's literally your plan month by month, what you have to do to reach your goal. Yeah, and then it generates a customer factory, so you know what to do. So, but it gets you through all that, and then when you get into this demand validation in the pink here, that's you trying to validate there's a demand for your idea before you actually go out and build it. And so, and that's what these 2 things are. But so what I did was, based on my professional background, and say instead of starting with the idea, I start with the idea, but the first thing I do with the idea, I say in the prompt, I said, who are the stakeholders and what for this business idea, what is the industry for this business idea? And then so the first step of the prompt is, who are all the stakeholders in that industry? So it lists all the stakeholders and their pain points. And so, that's the first step. Step 2, it goes in and say, so how can you make money solving these pain points? So it lists 10 to 15 ways you make money solving these pain points, because the average person doesn't know all the ways you can make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes the top 3 of those ways to make money and creates a lean canvas based on that.
Wow.
It combines them. And then it breaks it out a canvas for each customer segment, and then it stress tests each customer segment variant for desirability, and then whatever passed that desirability test is stress test for viability. Whatever passes that is stress test for feasibility, and then from that you generate your business model story pitch, and so there's a template for that. And so and the prompt also generates the script on how you say it and what goes on each slide.
And so people can get, so how can people get a part of some of these resources? I know you mentioned it a little earlier, but how can people get a part?
Just fill out the form at apply.kokoriainstitute.org, and then that'll get you into our Founders Insight program. And I'll put the link in here real quick. But anyways, so when you get in that demand validation, that what happens in there, the result of that activity, it generates your customer forces, jobs to be done, and hiring and firing criteria for your product. So it's literally going to find all the things that teach you how to sell your product. And then it's going to, based on those customer forces stories, jobs to be done stories, and hiring and firing criteria, it's going to use, you can use that to generate the design, your solution design. And then you use your solution design to create your sales pitch. But what most people don't realize, your customer forces and your jobs to be done, that's what it's used to create all your marketing material. You see, because it's the process. Customer forces is how do you get a person to switch from what they're currently using to what you're building. And so it's, and then when you put this prompt in, you can, I tested out in like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, Perplexity, the chat, whatever. But the bottom line, I found that Claude gives the best results in the deep research mode. And it'll actually take about an hour for it to run, but it's so comprehensive. And then you take all that results and dump it in a Notebook LM and have a conversation with it.
So if someone doesn't know how to prompt, is that part of the resources that you provide or you show people inside?
Well, we have one of our founders had this prompting method. So I told ChatGPT to update my prompt to use her method, and it just when everything blew up, and now it's like unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
So like even this transcript from this particular event here, it'll synthesize all the information we talked about and explain it. I'll put that in, it'll create a video. You can create stuff based on that too. But yeah, so that's why these resources are available thanks to our partners and our founders and our sponsors. That's over the years, that's what we basically built up. And I think I got it spelled correctly. So that's the link there. Just it should go to the right thing. Let me see if it works.
Perfect.
Yeah, it goes to the right thing. So I typed it in correctly. But yeah, it's there are a lot of resources, and we're here every Thursday night. We've been here every Thursday night. And we missed one scheduled event in 5.5 years every Thursday night. And so, we learn all this stuff we learned just from talking to you. That stuff is going to be beneficial for so many founders. It's going to be amazing. And so, yeah.
Wow. Lloyd, I'm just so grateful that we met, and it was a pleasure to also when we actually met in person. Vincent and I were able to come and meet you out in Florida. It was amazing to see what you're doing in person. So, wow, thank you so much for this opportunity again.
Yeah, and you all came down to the first Black Founders Innovation Summit, and we had another great one last year. We had speakers from all over the United States come. This year, we're gonna just try to take it to the next level. But it's all about helping founders, get clarity, like you said, because you're out there, you don't realize it. That clarity part and that mental stuff, it aligns perfectly. So even so, like whenever I do something, it'll in ChatGPT, since it knows about our program, it tells based on my prompt, it tells how that aligns with our program. Yeah, it synthesizes everything. And all this stuff I'm telling you, it's not really complicated. People think it's complicated, but yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, look, I would love. When is the summit this year? Do you have
It's
a
going
date
to
yet?
be 17th and 18th, and yeah, and so and so we do it both, hybrid. So like so folks that can make it, fine. If they can't make it, you can see it online, and we also have speakers online as well too. But it's
Well,
better
I
in person.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing in person. I loved coming to Florida. If there's anything that I can do to support the summit or be a part of it, just please let me know. I think it's one of the things that's truly transforming communities, not just in Florida, beyond that. Since
Yeah,
meeting you in 2024, I've been able to help so many emerging entrepreneurs and founders just from the information that we've been able to talk about. So thank you for just the work
right.
that you're doing.
Right. I'm glad to see you're still at it, and I'll share all the stuff with you that we generated, and the prompts and stuff, so you can leverage them and kind of move forward. And just so everybody knows, we have a license for Lean Stack. It's a right until the end of this month. It's an unlimited license, and so if you go ahead and get in our Insight program now, you would have access to the stuff, and so, but starting next month, our license renews, and our license just for the business model design stuff is actually limited to like, it's supposed to be limited to 50, but they let us, based on my use case, they upped it to 100. They told me I can get more if I need it, but it's a real valuable tool for founders, and so founders just need to understand, you need to know, you can't pitch your solution. You got to pitch your business model. So you have to know how to design the business model, and the training teaches you how to do it. The AI simulates the whole thing for you, so you don't have to start from scratch.
Mm.
Yeah, and so that's the key thing about it. Alrighty, I'm going to see what's on these two things here. Okay, well, appreciate everybody for joining in tonight, and we look forward to working with you, everybody, this year, and to help them move forward. And don't wait on anything. Just reach out and get going. And the more questions you ask, the faster you learn. And so that's the key thing for people. They always put things off. So like I met a founder last month. He's trying to raise money, and so it's been over 30 days. And if he had did what I told him the first time I met him, he would have known how to pitch his business model already.
Wow.
But he wants to go out and try to raise money without knowing how to pitch his business model. You see what I'm saying? People get in a hurry, but in order to get the money, you got to know how to articulate how you make money.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the prompt teaches you how to do and how to talk about it.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. Well, everybody, we got a couple of founders going to be on next week. So we'll learn from them as well. So thanks a lot, Patrick, for helping us help founders.
Yes, sir.
See everybody next week.
Thank you.